If the most base gratitude I have today is that I'm above ground, I'm going to lean into that hard.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar, and today I've got a special guest on the line with me. It's a longtime friend, Professor Brannon Beliso. How are you today, sir?
I am grateful, sir. Always a pleasure to share space with you, sir.
All right. Well, vice versa. So, it's been a long time. We've known each other as kids casually, not really well, but got to know each other pretty good in the last 20 years. And it's been really cool to see, what you've done and grown. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting because most people in the martial arts industry are very familiar with you. You run two very successful schools in the Bay Area. And what I love about what you do is that you really are focused on, student service, making sure the purpose is clear and all the things, of course, that I believe in that's going to sustain you over the decades. But you have a really interesting history. You've been doing this since a little kid. You were born into this, but also you took a few years off and were a rock star at one point. So kind of give me a quick overview of your life to date, and then we'll talk current martial arts business strategies.
Sure. It's been a long journey. I'm always a work in progress, and I'm perfect in my imperfections, as I like to say. And I think for me, every step of the way, no matter how hard the hardship might be, I am grateful. I am grateful. There's a lesson to be learned. If I'm not, I don't lose, I learn. I believe in that passionately. And, today I get to live that dream, just completely and totally.
Yep. So you started out, your father ran a successful school in San Francisco. So you were born into it, and you had some good hardcore training back in the day.
Yeah. Yes. 1967 is when I began, when people really didn't make money at martial arts. They were called clubs, right? A lot of it
Did
was,
your dad have a day job then?
he did. My dad worked at PG&E, Pacific
Okay.
Gas and
Okay.
Electric, but he
Okay.
stopped that by 1970 and martial arts became his full-time pursuit.
And
Uh,
he owned a building in downtown San Francisco too, right?
Correct. He owns the building. Well, my father passed at 90 about a year ago. He lived in the middle. The school was on the bottom and foreign exchange students on top.
Wow.
So he's
Okay.
making money on both ends, and the building cost 30,000 in 1970. It's been paid off
Incredible.
for decades, right? It's been paid off for
Incredible.
decades. So he was in such a sweet position just to live a moderate lifestyle, one that was his version of success. And I think that's a big thing, is understanding what is your version of success. And he lived it very well all the way to
Very,
his
very
end.
cool. And then, sometime you picked up music and what your late teens, early 20s, you kind of
Yes.
pursued that. Talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Well, I've always loved the martial arts, but it was an art for me. And I
Hmm.
never saw it as a viable business, as I don't think any of us did in the 70s.
Right. Of
It was
course.
a viable business, and Karate Kid exploded and everybody was making money teaching kids, and it still wasn't on my radar because I was pursuing music. I owned a DJ company, did 1,500 weddings in my career, high schools, bar mitzvahs, company parties, while I was trying to get this record deal. Got the record deal, number one hit, three top 10 songs, a number one album in the Philippines. And then when I exhausted that, I came back. Taibo was really big. It was DJing, music, martial arts, showmanship. So I created my own version of Taibo, ran the fitness circuit, teaching master classes, opened up a school with 100 kickboxing students. And of course, that wasn't sustainable because it
Right.
was trend based. So
Yeah,
once,
absolutely.
yeah, but I saw that. I saw the writing on the wall, sir. So I began transitioning into kids martial arts.
Well, it's interesting because when Taibo hit, I think it was like 96 or something like that, thereabouts is like we already had, a very successful martial arts school, both youth and adults. And we added a fitness kickboxing class to our program. But man, I just remember seeing the whole industry just get rid of their adult program to go to this. And I'm thinking, guys, do not do that because really the way I look at it is one fitness kick, actually, it takes four fitness kickboxers to equal the value of one junior student because they're twice as flaky and they usually pay half as much, right? And so I was so glad our program went along just fine, but I was so glad we didn't put all our eggs in one basket because I saw so many people just their schools be decimated when that craze fast passed.
When I saw there was that cardio karate, right? Was I think the name of it. And everybody was totally turning their brand into this cardio karate or whatever else was out there. And I was going, please don't do that. Please
Yeah,
don't do that. Yet I was the guy with 100 kickboxing students opening my first school. But I saw the writing on the wall. I saw it. I knew it was fad based, trend based. And if we didn't have something sustainable, that we were all going to suffer. We still have kickboxing, but it's nowhere near as big as it
sure.
back then.
It,
But it's more a trickle system. It's more for the moms in our school. It's a low hanging fruit, easy sell because the mom's already there, right? They're-
right. So you're running probably what, like three classes a morning, three in the evening, something like that per week, right?
Yep. Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah, and it's enough to kind of you scratch that itch, but there's nothing like a
Nope.
good family martial arts program.
Nope. No, sir. No,
So
sir.
take me through. So you open up a school. Take me through some of the things that you learned along the way. Some things specifically, maybe early in your, okay, I'm a professional martial arts instructor now. I'm really giving up the DJ work
Mhm.
that you did maybe wrong along the way.
Everything. Take your pick. I mean, I think the biggest thing I learned early on, being a third generation small business owner, cutting my teeth in my grandma's restaurants, pushing a broom at 8, 9 years old, I understood service really, really well. And I was never a sales centric person in anything I did personally. I think it should be about attraction. People should be attracted to it versus selling it to them. So I really leaned into that hard. And I recognized right away it's a different skill set to being a great martial arts instructor and a whole different skill set to being a successful small business owner. Two completely different skill sets. And I find that gap in our industry to be one of the biggest. I don't know if we organically believe once we're a black belt, we're this all-knowing all, but I saw right away the huge hole in my game was I didn't understand how to run a successful business. I got the mom and pop romantic, work till you're 90 years old, make a little bit of money, say you own a business and pass it down to your kid. I didn't look at that as a profitable business model. My grandma did it, my dad did it, but for me personally, I thought $1 million was a lot of money. So I needed a school that made $1 million a year, with at least a 35% net. 500 students times this amount equaled $1 million. So that was my model, and it is to this day. We have two locations. Last year we did 1.965 million. So we're able to replicate that year after year after year since Millbrae broke $1 million 7 years ago, right? The first 3 years it took to get to a mill. So we do have a really good model, and it works in our favor to accomplish that need and that goal. But I understand every day that the skill set is way different. And a lot of martial arts school owners don't get that. They're a great teacher, terrible business people.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think I see a lot of people that also they like back in the day. I think the difference between now and maybe martial arts schools 30, 40 years ago is that there were a lot of mediocre martial arts schools that could still survive because the competition, the supply and demand was different. Now, man, there's so many schools. It's kind of like your starting point. You have to be good. And the people that really only have a mediocre program, one of two things is happening. Either it's part-time for them or their spouse, is a doctor or their dad owns the building. But if you're actually supporting your family teaching martial arts, kind of the base point is you have to be good. And I think part of that is, and what I see, and I'm trying to coach schools, is how do you kind of, you keep them hungry. To quote Tony Robbins, people will do more to avoid pain than they will gain pleasure. And I see a lot of people that associate, more pain to all the hard work. So, I'm making enough. I'm paying the bills. I've got a little money for, you know, to spend on the weekend. So that's good enough. How do you get people past that level of just surviving to thriving? If you're if someone's hearing you from the first time and you're going to give them some advice, what would you tell them?
Well, surviving is keeping the lights on, paying the rent,
Hmm.
right? And surviving, we never grow. And I grew up in an impoverished neighborhood, so I understood that the best. I got to watch my back, I got to get over on you before you get over on me, and it's the mindset of scarcity. To move
Hmm.
from the mindset of scarcity to the mindset of abundance is a huge mindset shift. And when you don't see the instant gratification, then it's often, people get that illusion. But I live from a farmer's mentality, sir. I rototill the ground, I fertilize it. Do I have crop yet? No. I plant the seeds, I cover it, I water it. Do I have crop yet? No. I have a sapling. Do I have crop yet? No. I mean, a great crop like walnut trees takes several years before that walnut tree is into maturation, right? But once it matures, that walnut tree is going to produce, nuts year in and year out, enough nuts for me, for my family, to give back to the community and to sell. That's the beautiful thing about that. So it's fundamentally a huge mindset shift. And it's probably the most challenging part to work on for any human, let alone the small business owner with other than Uncle Sam, who's going to tell them what to do. But I hear
Yeah,
you said that right in the beginning. So many guys they work a day job and they're complacent. There's only so many hours in a week. If I work a day job with a 401k and a pension, insurance, and everything, sure, that martial arts school is a club. If I'm getting health insurance from my wife, sure. I can sit there and cruise like that, but it's a huge illusion because you don't own a business. You have a hobby, and that's it. That's it.
you know, I see so much where people they're trying to take they're trying to cut corners. There's a difference between instant gratification versus long-term benefit. And if you look at society and if we were to scale people on people that we have maybe the most respect for and people that maybe we have less respect for, on the lower scale would probably be somebody, and this is not a reflection of the person, but the person that's addicted, that's living on the street and addicted to, some kind of drug, right? They're looking for the very next fix. Now, like I said, I'm not passing judgment on that person. I don't know that story, what got him there. But the bottom line is instant gratification. Just get me through the next 5 minutes. Whereas the people we look up to, probably with the most respect in general, is somebody like if you think of a career, it would be like maybe a doctor, right? Somebody that has put in like a decade of work, or a professional, high level professional athlete that dedicated their life. And so the key thing that I see is how can we people, and you kind of touched on it when you're talking about the walnut tree, is how can we get the martial arts school owners to understand, if you want to be have success for decades, not just for 6 or 8 months, but for decades, man, you gotta pour into your community. First off, you gotta charge a fair price. You deserve that. But what can you do to really not just be about the quick buck, but about really serving your community in a positive way? And if you do that, and of course, then you have to market all that other stuff. But that's, that now you're planting seeds for longevity.
Well, and I'm big on that. We've been around a long time, and some people look at that as, well, you're long in tooth, you're an old dog, but you and I still remain relevant. I think the key thing is we're constantly reinventing ourselves. We're revamping our curriculum. We're bettering our systems. We're bettering our staff training. We're finding ways to make this a career for people. I mean, we're doing it right now. We're totally revamping the curriculum. I
Mhm.
invested in $15,000 of camera equipment so I could shoot a stripe for a 2 week period, test it in the class, and go, did this work or didn't it? No, this didn't work. That worked. Go back and reshoot it for the
Mhm.
next cycle. So I mean, we make the core amount of our money on the mat, sir, right?
Yep.
Minus day camp, seminars, after school program, whatever people do. Our core product is martial arts instruction. Yet we invest so little into it as a whole. The one-off seminar, things like that, fine. But to constantly invest in your curriculum and remain relevant, you have to reinvent yourself. You just have to.
I'm reminded of Nick Kokinos, who is the founder of Educational
Mm.
Funding Company, and virtually almost everybody that helps coach other martial arts schools, and it can trace their lineage in some capacity back that direction. He was way ahead of his time, but he used to talk about your chuk tongue, and chuk tongue. Forgive me, I don't speak Korean, but it's basically translated means bread and butter. And what he would refer to is, hey guys, don't forget your chuk tongue, meaning, hey, you can do all this other stuff, but the most important thing you can do is make sure that your core program is rock solid. And like the way we're also always modifying our curriculum, it's finer, it's fine tuning, but after every black belt test, we just recently had a black belt test. We sit down with our group of senior instructors and sit down and say, all right, and what we're looking for is what went well, how could we've improved it? And if, by the way, if one or two people were weak on something, I can point the finger at them and say it's probably something they weren't training right. But if a lot of people were weak in an area, then I got to point the finger back at us. So we're constantly like redefining, because what I want to do is as you said, you got to stay relevant, and things change. And of course, I'm always hopefully going to have that traditional look and feel. But yeah, tradition is wonderful, but being stuck in the past isn't. And there's a significant difference. You got to always be analyzing, is this the best way I can do things?
Yes, sir. And like O.S. Smith said, respect tradition but embrace innovation. I'm 63 years old and I have a full-on relationship with ChatGPT. I sit there and talk to it and gather because the research it has is milliseconds. I can go to Google and Google something and then scroll page after page. I go to ChatGPT, it gives me the best content, the best information, but I have to ask it the right questions.
It's
So
incredible.
Yeah, so it's incredible. I think I want to challenge all of us today on a higher level. I say in my business, 90% that goes wrong in my business is my fault. The other 10% is my fault. And if I just take that type of accountability and ownership, we had one person fail the black belt test, sir. One. I was all over that.
Hmm.
Well, what about the other 30 that passed? No, 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 no. One failed. In the middle of the test, we had to stop her. She was failing. And that is our fault. So, what did I do better? Well, we have no black belt prep curriculum videos because I always felt like my dad. Well, at some point, this is your video player. Da, da,
Right,
da,
right,
da. But
right.
if from white belt all the way up to black belt prep, you've always had curriculum videos that are easily accessible. Why aren't they there at black belt prep? Why aren't they there at black belt? Why aren't they there at first
Hmm.
degree? Right? So I had to get rid of that old thinking. And I went in and shot 30, 40 hours of black belt prep, black belt videos, first degree, second degree. So
Hmm.
they now have, which is going to be a great retention tool when they get to that level.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hear you. I hear you.
So let's get tactical. So give me, man, I'm having a really hard time. The phone's not, I say the phone's not ringing. I'm totally dating myself when I say that, but you understand, I'm not getting a lot of leads. You know, what do I do? So give me a few like tried and true. Maybe there's stuff people have heard, maybe not. What's working for you? Let's just say to generate interest in your school and the community.
Somebody asked me that because this month we're at currently Millbrae. We have 42 new students as of today, and San
Wow.
Francisco is at 37. Now, of
Very
course, it's
impressive.
January. It's
Sure.
January, but it's don't market one way to 70 people, market 70 ways to 70 people.
Hmm.
So we do have community-based marketing. I get a lot of criticism about my cotton candy machine. Somebody in Australia called me the king of candy, not king of branding, and it's okay because I understand I can't get a demo team together on a Thursday for a bike safety seminar at a middle school. But they're sure raising their hand wanting my cotton candy machine, right?
Hmm.
So it's a low hanging fruit. If you don't want to eat the cotton candy, don't get it. No one's standing there force feeding it to you. So things like that. We donate a lot of money to the community, silent auctions. We have banners hanging on the Little League fields. There's one hanging in front of my son's high school. As you pull out of the parking lot, it says, "What does Cornell, Stanford, and UC Berkeley have in common?" All have students that have earned black belts at one martial arts.
Very cool.
It's tailored though, sir, for that high school,
Hmm.
right? Because now they're thinking about colleges in sophomore, year. So it rings to them. I know how to speak to the demographic, and I think that's the huge miss. We don't understand the demographic. If you understand the demographic, the way they behave, think, play, eat, then you market to them. I don't like the word pain points. I like need. What is the need of a mom with a 6-year-old kid?
Hmm.
Would you like your child to be a better listener? Oh, yeah, I'll open up that email. But if you sing the same regurgitated song, "We teach focus and discipline," yeah, I get that from you and 50 other martial arts schools. But when you say, "Would you like your child to be a better listener?" Boom, the heartstrings ring, right? The one I'm doing for early camp registration, you'll love this. Great parents plan ahead.
Yep. That's great.
Wow, right? I'm a parent. And I only say this because, long story short, I started consulting a group out of Canada called Kin Creative. And I consulted, work on their infrastructure systems, organizational chart, brand absolutes, rebranded them from Dojo Launch to Kin Creative. Well, in the past 2 years, year and a half, I've been writing copy, writing ads, editing with the creative team. So I have an even deeper level. And I felt that would better me in our schools. So I'm able to produce content now that really creates that emotional connection. So I think when a school owner comes to me and what you're really saying is, how do I get 10 students? No, the better question is, how do I keep the 10 I have? Start there. Work from the inside out. Better your curriculum, better your staff, better your experience, better everything. Then when you go out and market, Facebook ads, your Google business page better be up to snuff all the time, at least 100 reviews. Your website better be up to snuff and be a lead generating website. Your social media has to be consistent. I love your social media. I would never see a social media of you drinking a beer, ever. I don't drink. I think it's really inconsistent. We promote fitness. The next thing you know, you got a big cigar and a glass of whiskey in your hand. That doesn't resonate. So consistency earns trust. So if I'm looking at your brand and you're very consistent, sir, I look at your website, I look at your Google, I look at your social media posts, I look at your work in the community, I look at whatever average you run. If they consistently sing the same song, consistency earns trust.
Good stuff, sir. Well, hey, so switch gears now. You got yeah, a really good staff. Yeah, you have really good tenure. Guys been with you a long time. So let's say I'm struggling with I just can't. You can't get any good help these days. They can't keep anybody around. Give me some tips. Give me some things. Give our audience some things that they can do to do a better job of either hiring the right person and then training them, then treating them.
Shift your mindset. See how you started that? It's hard to find good help. I can't find good people. That's your problem because you think that right away.
Hmm.
99.9% of our industry thinks that way. And to reinforce that, we often sing the song, well, when we get to 100 students, then I will pay you this much. And we will
Hmm.
get to 150, I will pay you this much. When I get to 200, we'll pay you this much. It should be the other way around. If I pay them really, 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 really good now, then they'll get me to 200 a heck a lot faster. Short story, I was, teaching 60 hours a week plus front desk plus everything. I was burning out. I saw a woman. I knew she could do my front desk, my HR, my payroll, everything. And I took a $50,000 credit card and said, I guarantee your salary for a year. And this was what, 15 years ago. I guarantee it. Will you come work for me? And within a year, I made 10 times as much that I did the previous year. See, it's that type of insight. Become a company people want to work for. Average McDonald's owner grosses $2 million a year. Guess how much he takes home? 150K.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah.
Absurd, right? Isn't that absurd, sir? People would think that's absurd, but he's not working there. He's got the systems, the marketing, the suppliers for food and everything. So once I understood that, if my payroll's not up around 33 to 35%, then I'm failing miserably for my team.
So I think something you said there, I just want to clarify to the audience that it's you have to have the right person, that they're always worth it if the right person and you train them right. So where I've done wrong in the past is that I thought, I close one eye and squint the other one and go, I think this person could work it because I want them to be the right person. Uh, and then, of course, it never works out, right? The second thing that could go wrong is you get the right person, but then you expect them to be able to read your mind as to what they should be doing versus actually train them right, which is so often missed, right? So I've got to train them right, and that way they now that person is you can that person that you've guaranteed their salary for the first year, you spend a lot of time training them to where you're on the same page. And then the third thing is that if you want to keep that person that's a rock star, then you got to make it a point to treat them right too. Make them, like you said, make sure that you treat them in a way that makes them want to continue to work within your
Yeah.
school.
I mean, my two top tier guys are TJ and Lucas. They're both into six figures, medical siphon, 401k, vacation with pay, and Lucas has just had a baby yesterday. I'm going to mine what is it going to take? You have a baby now? What are your expenses? What's going on? You have a mortgage. Both my guys own homes. I
Hmm.
want to know. I want to be at the pulse of that because if they simply have to leave by default because they need to make more money, then come to me first. We're starting to visit profit sharing and looking at all that because these two guys have been with me 15 years.
Hmm.
The
I
level
bet
of
it.
the caliber of teaching, oh, is unequaled. That's worth, imagine if you have to take somebody green and
Oh
get
yeah,
behind them. There's
yeah,
no, I
absolutely.
will pay these guys pretty much any amount they want at this point.
Right. A good instructor, people don't realize when you have that person that can teach back-to-back classes for not just, a week on end, but years on end. That's a real skill, man. All right, I want to wrap up. I want to be respectful of your time and give our listeners a couple, key things that you would think, man, what should I hold on to? What kind of advice could you give me that's going to help me, maybe that you didn't already say, that's going to really help me be able to maintain success in this industry?
Okay. I'm going to borrow from your playbook if you don't mind.
That's okay.
No, every day above ground is a good day.
Yes, sir.
Gratitude. I live and die by that, sir. I grew up really, really poor, impoverished neighborhoods, and I live in Millbrae, which I had a friend here growing up, and I used to come out to Millbrae thinking it was like the land of Oz.
Ha 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 ha.
I did. And if you look at Millbrae, it's the third most expensive city to live in the United States.
Wow.
I
Wow.
live here. I
Yeah.
own a home here. I'm so
Yeah.
blessed. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful. So that, if the most base gratitude I have today is that I'm above ground, I'm going to lean into that hard because it's a great positive starting point.
And I'll tell you what, grateful people are happy people and they're funner to be around. And I also do the same thing every morning. I I spend time to make sure I appreciate what you have. There's a great quote that goes like this. There's two ways to wealth. One is to acquire all you desire, and the other is to desire all you have.
Yeah.
And so often, man, that's what we got to do is we just got to sit back. Sure, there's other things we want to make better, but chances are 97% of your life is going well, and you just got to acknowledge that.
Yeah. And the yin to the yang, I complained I had no shoes until I saw a man with no feet, right? So I can always do that. So gratitude is number one because we talk about the law of abundance, the law of attraction. We've all heard that in some form or another. Nobody's attracted to a negative,
Mhm.
cynical, entitled person. So as far as a level five leader, as far as an instructor, as far as, being part of the community, nobody's attracted to that. And you see it when you walk into someone's restaurant, they hate their life and they're pissed
Mhm.
off. You're like, whoa,
Yep.
arguing with the cook. And we've all been in at least one restaurant like that. And the second one, borrowing from you, is plant seeds early and often.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Early and often. I have yellow belt rock stars that are already volunteering for
Mhm.
after school and camp and birthday parties that I know one day I'm going to, if they stay with us a year, I'll invite them into our instructor's training experience.
Love it.
Those two things are really valuable to me. And then, of course, the power of now. I'm very much in the moment. I hear that a lot from business owners that are growing their businesses. I'm not there yet.
Mhm.
That all the time. I'm not there yet. I said, well, come with me, young Padawan. Let's
Well,
stand right here, right? We're here. We're
well,
here.
we have to remember what takes us out of being at our best is fear for the future, regret for the past, so the better we can kind of be in the present moment, the better off we are. Well, hey, Professor, I appreciate you being on a podcast. Much respect. I enjoy your friendship and I wish you continued success.
Thank you, sir, so much.
Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Haunchie Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.